Hello, everyone. This is Ricky from NovaStar. It's really glad to be here to bring you our H series introduction. Before our introduction, and we can check this is our NCE schedule for this time, and this is our third classes. And we have been asked during these 2 days, and like if you have, you can have the video recorded, or if you have, you can have the PPT. I would like to everybody know in the beginning. So after our training, every courses, and we will record video, and together we'll record all your questions, and we'll put out on answers, and together with our presentation file, and we will upload it to NovaStar official YouTube channel. So maybe in a few days, maybe next week, you can check all the recorded videos in our YouTube channel. So now let's just begin today's training, which is our H series introduction. Our H series is our kind of new product, which is the all-in-one splicer and sending card together, and which is the first kind of unit of splicer, all-in-one splicer and sending card in the whole industry, which is greatly simplify the system structure. And let's see, to bring you the H series, and we'll talk about from all the models. If you see, you can check. We have right now 4 models from H2, 5, 9, and H15. So we have 4 different modules, and all the content here will be introduced based on also those 4 parts. And the first one, because we see it's just a kind of new all-in-one splicer and 4K sending cards. So we will see what is the difference between H series solution and the traditional solutions. And the second part will let you know what you can get, what's the benefit if you're using H series compared to the current solutions. And the third one, like H series, right now will support some advanced features. And then part 4 because you see we have 4 different models from H2 to H15. So we'll give you a brief introduction about how you can select the appropriate models. So let's get into the first part, the traditional solutions. For the traditional solutions, if you can think, and we see H series is the ultra large screen management system. So when we're talking about ultra large, the ultra large means you have many pixels, really high resolution, and a really big or really large. I mean, the dimension is the large screen. So right now, based on the evolution of the LED manufacture technique, the pixel pinch is getting smaller and smaller. And so with the same size or same dimension, right now, the resolution will be becoming higher. And as well as the dimension right now is really becoming larger and larger, like maybe a few years ago, when you see a 4K screen, wow, this a 4K screen, and the 4K is really clearly vivid LED screen. But right now, if you see 8K screen, it is already being a really common thing. So right now with that evolution, like smaller pixel pinch, bigger screen, higher resolution, and because the screen right now, LED screen right now is becoming more and more popular, so the customer will give us more requirements. So we have to meet more function requirements. Let's see with those problem or situation right now, what is the traditional solutions? We have a case here, and which is almost a 16K resolution LED screen. And the traditional is besides all your video sources, and all the video sources goes into a video slicer or matrix, some video processing devices, and then it will scale up or scale down all the images and divide it to multiple video sources, whatever is the DVI, SDI, or HDMI. But for control a LED screen, we do need LED control system. right now, the traditional solution will be used in our sending cards. In this case, with the 16 LED screen, they use of 50 of 2K controllers. Maybe if you think we have 4K units right now, even you use 4K, it's about maybe 13 or 15 controllers. And you can see all the cables here. We have 15 video source cable, 50 video source cables, and tons of Ethernet cables. So with the traditional solution right here, the problem is that we have really complex system structure, a lot of cables, a lot of devices. It increases it decreases the stability of the whole system. And once the cable is broken, the system, well, maybe you will see a black screen on the wall. But as well as right now, we have 50 2K controllers without backup. Once you need redundant, we have another 50 units sending cards for the system backup. So that will be really, really a complex system. So we will see all the problems here, a lot of cables, a lot of devices, really hard to manage the whole system. So with all those cables, we are facing the high failure rates, or many equipments will give you many headache on site, or even as for us, a technical support engineer, when you see really complex screen, complex cables, complex system, when there's some problem happen, it's really hard to locate it where the problem it actually is. So with all those problems, too much equipment, so with complex wiring, too many limitations. Here is another issue, is because for some or many displacer, the layer settings, when the layer is cross different output ports, it will decrease the layer limitations. Like if you say initially support for like 4 layers, but if you cross output ports, it will decrease like to only support 3 layers. So the layer limitations for the structure is another issue. And also we have 50 units, so 50 video source, and the system, the video source processing part, we have to make sure all the 50 outputs are synced up. That's another issue. If it's not, we will see the tearing issue on the LED wall. And also, with the too many steps in the procedure in the whole system, each step will increase the latency. So if the customers need low latency at their project, that will be another problem. So right now we're bringing you our new H series solutions. So from H2 to H15, the numbers here, it's really easy to remember. It's a rack mount. So H2, which is the 2U rack mount, and from H5 is the 5U, and for H15 it's a 15U chassis for the whole the unit. And compared with the H15 right now here with that 16K LEDs wall, and we can see the H15 can do what the video splicer does, as well as it includes all those capacity of those sending cards. So we just need 1 unit here, and we just give it the video source to H15, and we'll be able to manage all the video source, splicing, scaling, and also in the end, we can just directly drive the LED screen. So see, we have really simple and just really simplified the whole system, which with the fewer units or equipments, with fewer cables, the system stability will increase as well. And we save, in that case, we save almost 80% the cables as well as devices, and the most important, the time we have to spend on site. So this is the the system structure we compare with real case, which is 16K LD screen. You can see what we have to do with the traditional solution, and what will be easier for the H series. And for that, we know that right now, if we use it is in the H series, we can just have really simple structure. So what are the benefits when using H series? The first one will be the high integration. So we can see we take the H9 here as an example. So for the H9, we just need one device and it integrated 4K sending cards and the video suppressor, which is the base function for the H series. And also we support up to 5 4K LED sending cards and a loading capacity up to 16.5 million pixels. So 5 4K LED sending cards, you can see here, we can insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 4K sending cards. So each sending card slot, we can support a 4K LED screen. And as well as for the input cards here, we support up to 10 4K input cards. So for all the different input cards, we'll introduce what input cards we have in the at the end of this presentation. And as well as you can see the rear panel here, the H series is a modularized design. Whatever input source you need, or whatever the LED screen, the resolution, whatever the resolution is for the LED screen, you can choose proper combination of the input and output cards. If you have a smaller screen, which just need 1 or 2 sending cards, we have H2, which is smaller recommend. If you really have like the 16K really large screen, we have H15. So it is a modular design, and with a really flexible model choice for your project. And as well as here we use H15 as an example. All the input cards here we support 3G SDI, DisplayPort 1.2 for the 2K level, DisplayPort 1.1 for the 2K level, 1.2 for the 4K level, and standard DVI, HDMI 1.4, HDMI 2.0 for the 4K input sources, and all the old analog signals, 3BS and VGA. And we support IPC, which is the camera, which is the internet camera system. So with the IPC cards, and we support maximum 16 channel of the internet camera, and we can just manage all the camera and show as the video source for the H series. As well as for the output, we see it only in one splicer, so we can directly control the LED screen. So for sure, we have Ethernet output. And if for the long distance transmission, we have the optical fiber output card. And also HDMI 1.3 here is for the MVR, which is the preview window. And we will do the demo, and you'll see what is the MVR later. And another advantage is that for the single output cards, because we mainly talk about driving a LED screen, the each sending card loading capacity here is a 10.4 or 16 million pixels. Why we have two different number here is because if you see like right here with this kind of output cards, you see one output card here, we have 16 Ethernet output with 2 fiber outputs. And with the demo previous page with the H9, we have 2 different output sending cards. So with one is 16 Ethernet cable, and the 2 fiber outputs. This is one kind of sending card output card, and another path is 20 Ethernet output cards. So each output we can drive 50,000 pixels, 60,000 pixels. So here we see 10.4 million pixels, which is the loading capacity for the 16 RJ45 output cards and 13 million is the 20 RJ45 output cards. And for each output cards, the maximum width and maximum height is the same, which is 2,240 for the weights for the 16 output cards, and 2,752 is the maximum weights for the 20 RJ45 output cards. And for height, it's the same for same as how the weights for the 16 ports and same as height for the 20 ports. So this is all the input and the output cards for the H series, as well as the input and output cards. For the layer editing, we see one of the benefit is we have really flexible layer editing management. So for each output cards, we support 16 2K layers or 8 dueling layers, which means like 38 by 1920, or we can support 4 4K layers. And for the layer quantity, it's not reduced when it's cross different output ports. And for each layer, every layer can be scaled up to full screen, which is really not really common use for on-site, but its ability is here. Each layer can be scaled up to full screen. So for the layer editing, we can do multiple layers, and with really flexible layers with the H series. This is the second benefit. The layer management is really flexible. And for the next one, it's really common problem we heard from the customers once you have really large screen with multiple video source, which is the tearing issue. The tearing issue is like, for example, here with the top and the bottom part drive with the 2 different sending cards. So once the video source they think were just driven by 2 devices, it's really common to see the tearing issue. But when we use in each series, because all the data processing is inside of 1 unit, and we have our own pattern to sync up all the outputs, so we're 100% sure that if you're using H series, there will be no tearing issue at all. So you don't have to worry about the tearing issue when you have a project with multiple controllers, or if you're using H series, will be multiple output cards. There will be no issue for the tearing at all. And the fourth advantages or benefit for the H series is low latency. Because you see the same structure, remember? Compare the traditional with the video splicer and 50 SD cards. Right now we have just 1 unit. So with the simplified system structure, we will reduce the latency as well. And for the whole system, the total latency will be reduced to 3 frames delay. So we'll have a really, this is really improvement compared to the traditional solutions. And if the customers need, will really have high requirement for the latency, and the H series will be a better solutions. So summary all the advantages or benefits. So there's too many equipment, complex screen wearing that this issue is gone, and too many limitations for layers. The H series can deal with that problems where it's gone as well, and or the tearing issue right now is gone, and the latency H series will give you a better performance. So all the problems here can be fixed one by one by H series. So you see, this is all the benefits for the H series. And with those benefits, we just need a basic structure or information for the H series. What about other advanced features? Like if the customers need 3D or need HDR, the H series can also meet all those requirements, as well as for the control method. The H series doesn't need a software, a PC-based or Mac-based software. It's web-based control. It's building a BS system, and it's a BS version for the web page control. And for the input switching, or we support say presets. So preset switching, we can do the seamless switching. And also for the high image quality requirements, we support HDR, as well as for the 3D requirements, it can also meet that requirements. And we have MVR cards, which you can just monitoring your inputs and monitoring your outputs on the web page as well. And then the last is we have the EDID management. The EDID management is what we like to talk about, because for traditional splicer, which is most of the design for projector or LCD screens, those displaying devices are designed for standard like 4:3 or 16:9 ratio screen. But once we control a LD screen, the resolution or the ratio is not standard. So the EDID, we're talking about mostly for the output side. It will be harder for when we use for LD screen. So as a LED control system manufacturer, so NovaStar, we've been putting the H series to the market. The EDID management will be really user friendly for control a LED screen. And so this is a simple structure for when we're using the H series. Like the control it, we have, like I mentioned, we have the web page control. So since it's web page, so it doesn't matter what this operating system is. It can be your phone, it can be your iPad, it can be your Mac or Windows PC, whatever. As long as you install, there's a browser on the device, and we recommend use the Google Chrome for the control because we have fully tested. And once your device and HDRs connect to the same internet local network and enter the IP of the HDRs, you'll see this web page. So on this web page, you can do all the things: layer of basic settings, layer editing, precise switching, and also the real-time monitoring. All those things you can see later when we do the actual demo. And for talking about the presets, for the fixed installation or for the rental industry, the presets is really common used feature. And for the H series, we support up to 2,000 presets that can be saved to the H series. And when we're switching, we have two different modes. One is cuts, which is just a quick switch and without black on the screen, or we support fade in and fade out switching, which is a seamless switching as well. And we talk about HDR. So the HDR here is that once you have the HDR video source and you select the HDMI 2.0 input cards, and then the HDR will have the ability to deal with HDR content and show the better image, better quality image on the LED wall. This is HDR, as well as the 3D function. Just like the other NovaStar device to support 3D, it supports the feature is not. We don't have too much to talk about the 3D features. It's just like you put up a glasses and you can see the 3D effect. But what I wanted to talk about is the setting up or the configuration of the 3D. The H series really have a really easy way for the setting up, which is it configured based on the layer settings. So we have the 3D input source coming in, and it just have a really easy just to add a 3D layer and just enable the 3D, and you'll see the 3D effect on the wall. So for the configuration with H series, well, much easier as well. And this is what we're talking about, the real-time monitoring. The real-time monitoring is that at the monitoring page or the layer editing page at the canvas, you can see what the input source is real-time image. And also on the MVR output cards, we have the HDMI 1.3 connector. You can connect to a monitor as well. If you don't want to do the layer editing and to see the monitor as well, you can connect to the LCD monitor. And this is the last one, is the EDID configuration. It's the what I just talked about, the EDID configuration, especially for the IOD screen, which usually doesn't have a standard ratio or standard resolution. And those are the advantages features. For the last part, is the product selection guide. We have 4 models, H2, 5, 9, and 15. And when we select the H series for your project, the first thing we need to consider, usually the workflow is what video source you need. And then we can select the proper input cards. And then is what's the resolution of the wall. And then we'll be able to do the calculation and to choose how many output cards or what type of output cards you need. If you need the long distance transmission, maybe the 16 RJ45 plus 2 fiber outputs, that kind of card is more suitable. Or if this is direct Ethernet connection to the wall, the 20 RJ45 output card will be suitable. So we have a chart here to indicate to the selections or the basic information for the input and output card selections. For H2, the choices is 2U. So like I mentioned, the number here stands for the recommend of the units. And for the H2, it's assessed 2U, and it supports a maximum 4 input cards, and maximum input channel is 16 channel. So if you notice that for each input card, we have 4 connectors. Like for the HDMI 1.4 input cards, there are 4 input HDMI input connectors on the card. So 4 cards, each card there are 4 connectors. So in total 16 connectors. And the maximum output cards for the H2, we can maximum input or insert 2 output cards. And for the H5, it support up to 10 input cards and 10 plus 4, which is 40 channels of input sources. And we can support maximum 3 output sending cards, whatever is 16 or 20 output ports. And for H9, we support up to 15 input cards and each card 4 channels. So in total, 60 input sources. And for the output part, we support up to 5 Ethernet output cards. And there's one thing is that if for H15, there are 2 different versions. One is H15 standard and H15 enhanced. And for the H15 enhanced, the difference is that let's see what H15 is. H15 support maximum 30 input cards, and so times 4, 120 input sources, and support 10 output cards. And for the H15 enhanced, the difference is the input cards here is same. So it has the same input cards here. And for the output cards, it can support 16 output cards. So for the H15 enhanced, it's a different case of the main body of the H15 unit. So it can support 6 more output cards than the standard H15. And we will have maybe you'll have a better understanding when you see the real panel compression of H15 and H15 enhanced, and we will show it later. So this is the real panel of H15 and H15 enhanced. You can see here, this is all the input cards with that H15 standard H15 can support. And for the H15 enhanced, all the 6 channels here, it can be insert. It can insert output cards, or you can insert input cards as well. You can see the difference here. You can see the small white label and the black label. So the white label means this is a dual mode of the dual mode slot. So for this slot, you can insert either a output card or is an input card. So for the H15, those 4 channels can be inserted as output cards to drive a larger screen. So for in the beginning, that case, the 16K LD screen, we will need H15 enhanced because we will need those 6 more output cards. So this is the main difference for the H15 and the H15 enhanced. And there's one thing I would like to mention, that for the output cards for the H15 enhanced, for the layer setting, there's a little difference. Because if you remember, we talk about the layer output cards. For each output card, we support 16 2K layers, 8 dual link layers, and 4 4K layers. But for the layer limitation for the H enhanced, for each output card, we support up to just 10 2K layers and 5 dual link layers and 2 4K layers. So for the 4K layers, the number is reduced for the H15. And this is the real panel for the H9. And we can see it's for maximum 5 output cards and 10 input cards. And this is H5, 3 output cards and 10 input cards. And this is H2, 2 input cards and 4. Sorry, it's if we insert maximum 2 output cards, we will have 2 input cards. And there's another thing we like to talk about, is the power redundant. The power redundant, if you see on the H2, we only have one. It's integrated power here. So for the H2, there's no power redundancy function for the H2, but for other models, 5, 9, and 15, you can see there's one slot reserved for the power module. So if the power redundant is important on in your project, you can, when you place the order, you can place one more power module for the H5 or 9 or 15. So this is the 9. You can see there's another slot for the power supply, as well as for the H15. Because H15 is really big unit. We do need 2 power supply for the whole system, but we have another 2 power reserve the power slot for the power redundant. So this is the rear panel of those 4 different models. And let's see what the input and output cards looks like. This is all the input cards we have. For the standard HDMI 4K, the standard 4K input sources, we have the HDMI 2.0 and the DP 1.2 input card. But this card, we can only use one source at the same time. So there's a switch button on the configuration page. And for the 12G SDI, we have the one SDI in, and this is a SDI loop, just one 12 SDI loop input for one card, and one HDMI 2.0. This is just one 4K input. And for the 2K level, we have the two display 1.2 or 1.1 input cards. And there's a, if you need more 4K input sources, and we have HDMI 2.0, two HDMI 2.0 input cards. And this input card those two 4K sources can be used together at the same time, but it only works with H15 or NH15 enhanced for the HDMI 2.0 or two HDMI 2.0 card. And for another common 2K level HDMI 1.3 card, we have 4 HDMI connector, and there's the mode switching. If it's a single mode, we have 4 input sources. If you switch to the dual mode, only the HDMI 1.4, those two, number 2 and 4, those two HDMI 1.4 will be enabled, and those two will be disabled for the if you switch to the dual mode, as well as for the same thing for the DVI and for 3G SDI input cards. And this is the IPC card, internet camera card. So we have two RJ45 connector. If you just like you have a maximum 16 internet camera on a project, and you can connect to the same network switcher, same network, and connect to the input cards here. And we support RTSP, OnVIF, I remember 3 or 2 or 3 standard internet camera stream source, and we can detect all the camera sources and show as a video source. And then for the analog signals, VGA and the VBS connectors. And that's all the input cards. And for the output cards, like I mentioned, we have 2 different output cards. One is 16 RJ45 with 2 fiber outputs, or we have 20 RJ45 output cards for larger loading capacity, as well as for the MVR card, preview card. And if you need preview card, if you insert a preview card, you'll be able to see the real-time image when you configure it. And you'll see what it means later when we do the actual demo. So let's see. Let's have a quick summary review for the whole HDR system. The HDR system, it's a video splicer, all-in-one video splicer and a sending card. So it's, as well as it can do the basic the video matrix things if it's just easy matrix functions. And with all the video source coming in, and we can control it because of the web page with the control PC or any mobile devices. And also we have the monitoring card to monitoring real-time video input and outputs, and then control screens. Because we can insert multiple input cards. So actually, if even you have multiple screens on site, we can just control with one unit. So for the rest of time, I would like to do the real demo for how can we operate the H series. So we would like to switch to the web page control page for the H series. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So as you can see here, this is the login web page. And right now, my demo H unit, the IP of the demo H unit is 192.168.1.11. So we just enter the IP of the H series, H unit, and then we'll get into the login page. And the default password and the username is all as admin. And when we log in, this is the main page of the H series. The Darren, could you please change the camera for the screen so that all the audience can see what it's real like? Okay, so if you see right now, the camera is actually facing the demo screen here. And because it's already configured, and what we'll do is just from the beginning. And for configuring H series, if you control a LED screen, all the basic configuration we have to do is to do this, send in the RCFGX file, do the screen connection. That's all need to do with the Nova LCT software. Just like you control a 4K or HD Junior, all the standard unit. So let me see. Once the screen is properly configured, and then we'll be able to see here. So we have to from the step to step. On the top, we have 5 options: configuration, programming, a multi-viewer, and device page and settings. So usually when we connect it to the H series, when we start in the beginning to configuration, and then usually personally for me, I would like to check the device for the first. So when we click the device, right now we are connected to the H2. So you'll be able to see what input cards you are selecting and what output cards right now are detected. So you can see right now we have 4 HDMI input cards, and we have two source right now is enabled or active. And for the MVR cards, and we have that MVR ports connected. And the last one, the bottom one here, this is the main control card. And for the output cards, we have 2 Ethernet cable connected. And as well as when we click one of the cards, you can see on the right part, for each panel, we have the limited full function, which is used for once the video source connected. If you put black screen, it's not black. It's a little slight light gray background. This is what it's used for. And this is the device page. Usually for me, I would like to check what if all the input and output cards are detected properly. And then we'll be able to start to configure the screen. And right now, because we have 2 output cards connected, so we can just click one of the output cards and then drop it to the canvas. See, right now we have for the screen 1. If you have multiple screens, right now, because we only have 1 screen, so we just demo with 1 screen. If you have multiple screen, for example, you have another screen with another output cards, we can just click screen 2 and drop the second output card for screen 2. Or if you have all those 2 cards to control the same screen, the screen is big, we use 2 cards together. We can just put those 2 cards together. So right now, because we just have 1 screen, we just use 1 screen as a demo. And because the minimal output EDID for all of our output cards, it's 800 by 600. But the demo screen right now we're using is smaller than that. But we don't have to worry about it, and we can change the screen size here. Even though the output EDID is not changed, it's still 800 by 600. But once we change here, I think it's 640 by 360. Once we change here, only that section we are configuration here, the 640 by 360, that area will have the image, and the system will think this is a full screen. So the 640 by 360, it's a resolution of my demo screen here. And then we can just click save. And then we can just go to the second tab, which is programming. For the program page here, which is we use mostly, and you can see on the left, this is all your video sources. Because we only have one input card insert, so it only shows 4 channels. And the green on the left here, which means it's active. It has had the input sources coming in. And we have different views of the input cards. This is the list view or the preview view. You can see when we change the preview view, we can see the input 1-1 and 1-2. You can see the real input image. And once we click and drop it to the screen, you can see it shows on the wall. And there's a shortcut here, and we could use this for the full screen. Once we make it on the full screen, this is a really basic configuration. And so we have 2 different sources, and we can just switch the source and maybe drop the second source. If you want to change the source, click the second source and drop it over the current layer, and we'll switch the video source. Or if you need 2 different sources on the wall, we can add it here to put one source on the left and see another source on the right. So now we have 2 sources together. And for example, right now, this is one scenario we're going to use on site. And we can just save the presets, save to the preset 1. Or, and for some time, we just need a full background, full screen background. We can save, maybe save the default name, preset 2. And at the presets page here, we'll be able to switch the presets seamlessly once you have multiple presets. And at the bottom option here on the signal selection page, we have preset playback function, which means we can set a playlist of the presets. Like right now, we have 2 presets. We can just let them play automatically and every 10 seconds. So if we click OK and enable the presets play, the canvas right now will indicate to the presets play list is playing. So we cannot do any configuration. You can see after 10 seconds, it will automatically play the second presets. Okay, let's change it back to this page. And also, for all the presets here, we can select presets reaching. Right now, you can see it's fading and a fade out effect. And later, we'll have the options to change it to direct switch, a cut switch, and I'll show you later. And for the layer, there's another thing we'd like to talk about, which is we support the layer flip. So you can see here at the bottom, so when we select the input 1 here, and we can just change the layer settings. For example, just like a mirror side, and or for the configuration, I just add one more with the same video source. You can see what, oh, sorry, wrong click. You can see one on left and one at right, and we changed another layer with side-by-side flip. Also, it's upside down, whatever you need, and this is the flip feature for the layer settings. And usually when we do the on-site, and another two function, which is you can see on top, we have OSD function and background function. I would like to start with the background first. So background usually used for when there's no layer is enabled, but we do have a background, like maybe when you do a show, the show logo, whatever it needs. So we can add a picture from the local PC, or I just save the one or two pictures in once. So once we enable the BKG, the background, and then you can see, even right now, we do not have any video source or layers put it to the canvas. We still have the image on the wall as a background. And when we put another, drag the video source in, then we'll have the left video source on the screen. But you can see once we change the size and show the background, the background image will be easier as a backup, or you can use as a backup for sure. And then we'll talk about the OSD function. The OSD stands for on-screen display. The on-screen display, we have two different versions. One is the OSD text, another is the OSD image. The OSD text is that you can see it will, it's too big. Let me just make it smaller. You can see right now, the OSD will generate a you can consider as another layer, but it has the top level of all other layers. It's over all other layers, and then you can modify the text and change the font size, and then the switching speed, whether it's scrolling or not, and even if you do not need the background, the gray background, like that's the default, we can disable background and then click apply. You see on the wall, the camera view, you can see the OSD, which is over your current content. Okay, so this is for the text, or we can just enable a image. For example, we can upload OSD image. Let's see what we have. Sorry for the mess of my folders, but we can change or choose whatever your image is, and even we can just set the crop of your OSD image, and then once we enable, oh, it's too big as well. You change it to a proper size, and then when we click enable, you can see the camera view. The OSD will be shown on the screen, and whatever you change video source or do other things, well, it will be still there. So this is the layer settings page, the program page, where we do mostly for the layer editing. And the second page is the multi-viewer. The multi-viewer page does require you have that MVR card insert. If there's no MVR card insert, you cannot see the image. Just a rectangle without image indicates you where is the layer is, and then you can see the multi-viewer page. We can just input monitoring all the input card inputs. So right now we only have 4 inputs connector and 2 active. So we only have 2 input view. And for the screen view, because we only have 1 screen, so we may click and drop it on the multi-viewer, and we can see it on the screen. So that's why we have a HDMI 1.3 connector. You can see here, 1.3 connector on the multi-viewer card is because when you do the programming, you cannot see the multi-viewer page. This is one or the other selection. So if you need to do the programming and see the output preview at the same time, you can connect the HDMI 1.3 to the LCD monitor, so you can see them. And if you can see, we only create 1 screen. So remember, we only create 1 screen here. If you have multiple screens, you'll be able to monitor all the screens by do the same thing, click and drop it on the page. And the monitoring size of the screens we can customize, and the position and the size are all can be just whatever you need to put on the screen to your layout. And there's some default layouts. So we can select this is the first one we just modify, and then the fourth we just introduced in the beginning, and just indicates you all the component status, all the input cards, and also the power, if the power is good, and the temperature, the fan speeds, and the voltage, as well as the bottom right here is a self-test button, which is used for troubleshooting. Usually, there's something wrong, and our engineer suspect that maybe there's a hardware issue. We will ask, could you please do a self-test for your H series? And then this is what you need for the operation. Click the self-test, because the self-test takes time, and we'll not do the demo, the self-test, but just 1 click. And then the last part we're going to talk about is the settings. So what are the settings we can do for the H series? The first, you can see on the left the setting list. The first is EDID management, both for the input and outputs. For the inputs, we'll be able to set input EDID as standard, or we can just input and export the current EDID or the detected EDID. So you can use as an EDID learner once you connect to your maybe LCD, and we can just learn the export EDID from the LCD, and then use for another ports. And there's some standard resolution where we can do the customized resolution. And even not only for the width and the height and the frame rate, we can do the advanced EDID settings based on for the timing parameters based on what the client needs. But most of the time, the standard just changing resolution and the frame rate will be fine. And for the output cards, usually we have to cite, because right now we connecting the Ethernet output card, which is for driving the LED screen directly. So usually the output cards, we have to set the resolution exactly same as your LED wall resolution. The LED wall, which is controlled by this card, only controlled by this card, that resolution. The reason why it's not same for the demo is because the limitation for the EDID, the minimum width and the height is 800 by 600. So we just use the minimal for the wall. And you can see for the output cards, and when we change the width, you can see both the width and the height, it can up to 10,752. But for sure, we cannot change it and make them to that level for both width and height. But for each one, we can support up to 10,752. And then the second list is IPC camera management. And when we add new cameras, once they connect to the same network, you can see we support the most common used RTSP and on-wave formats of the video sources. And just configure all the IP cameras. You can see all the sources here. And then after they configure, once we have the MPC, you'll see the network inputs here. But it's not configured, so there's no list. So this is for the IPC and user management. The third operation, the H-series supports adding different users. So and with a different authorization for functions. For example, when we use the change the username, like play list editing, and give a password. And you can see on the bottom here, we can assign, sorry. One. We can assign different authorities for this account. Maybe, for example, we only enable the multi-viewer model for this account and click OK. I'll just have a quick demo and just log out and log in as player one, which we just create. You can see we only have the multi-viewer page. The other page is not accessible. And even for the setting page, I only have the helps to see the basic tutorial videos and see what's current firmware. So it's a user management page. We'll be able to assign create different account for maybe your client and user, your own engineer for the different scenario. And backup management is that we can export all the current configurations and export and save the backup. Once maybe it's really low possibility that H-series has some issue, you have to replace with a new one. You can just import the file and everything will be restored. And the communication settings for the IP settings control for the H-series. And as well as you can see here, the serial port settings. There's a 2 series port control on the control card, and this is like the build rate, the database for the control card. And if you can see here, which means we do support a third-party control. NovaStar provides the basic control protocol for the H-series. If you are interested in the control protocol, and you can contact us, our engineers will contact you further for getting the protocol documents. And the next setting is firmware update, and you can check all the current control card, aux card, and VR card, and info cards. What's the firmware version? And we do the firmware update at the same page by browser the update file, and then the recite. We have 2 different modes. To recite with the keep user data, like your communication settings, background settings, preset settings, and just reset all the other things. Or we can select reset all. It will change the IP to the default. Mainly, the IP is the main thing because if we set to the default, we have to change the IP of the control PC for communication. And on the other settings here, the first one is play video streaming in editing area, which means here, once we disable, we are not able to see the live video image for the input sources. We can just need to see that window with rectangle indicates you this is the layer you are editing. That's used for some internet environments with that not good. Once we transmit that much data, we will see it's not stable, so we can just disable that. Or on the control card, we have the Ginlock, the sync up signal. And if we want to use the Ginlock, can just enable it. And here, next one is the preset switching. Like I mentioned, we have fade in, fade out, or just directly cut. And the next one is turn on backup. So this is for if you like right now, if we have two H2s, and one is primary unit, another is backup. So we have to connect to the backup one and turn it on. Let the backup one know, hey, you are the backup device. So when you output the signals, you output like opposite way. And then for the help, and we have the pre-stored user menus specifications as well as introduction page, introduction videos. And then the next one is the last one is the about, which you can check the firmware version and just download a log for the troubleshooting as well. So this is for the web page. And another thing is for the model selection. The model selection, we have online tools as well for you to selection. And this is web page. I'm gonna put it to the chatting Zoom as well. And you can, once you log into the page, and you just need to finish the steps, and then the system will give you a recommend controller. For example, once we control, click control by connectors, or you can select control by card if you know what the connector is. So right now, if we need, for example, if we need 4 DVI inputs and 8 4K inputs with HDMI 2.0, maybe, and 2 4K SDI input, and click next, and then select the output cards, and we have really big screen. So we need maybe 40 output cards, and then we the MBR means if you need the preview function, I do need, and if you need single power or dual power supply, if you need dual power backup, and if you click solution, you can see it will automatically generate. You have what input cards you need, what output cards you need, and how many of them, and what other things, and because like preview cards or power supply. And the recommended configuration is the H9. Yes, it's H9. And then you can share it to others where you can view. If you click view, it will generate an Excel spreadsheet and with the list of what you need, and you can just send it to our sales manager and place the order accurately. Okay, this is all the demos on the web page for the web page control and the model selection too. And then for the last few minutes, I would like to share you another software, which is or not software, it's an app, which you can install on your iPad or Android tablets, which we call the VCCP. Let me share Let me share my camera. Okay. Okay, so this is the demo for the VCCP, and this is the main page once we connected to the VCCT software, and you can see once we click screen, which is this tab is for control the H series. Let me see if we can. And then it doesn't have too many options for configuration, but for the basic input management, you can see here, I can click the input source and change the input source. And as well as we can see on the screen, it's the input source is changed as well. Or because we already saved the presets, so I can change the presets by just grabbing the iPad and do all the configuration or the layer editing wirelessly. And because we don't need too much functions, so the media server environments where the PC control is now accessible for the H series. The VCCP, this only for H series. H series only work for the screen part, and the media server, which is work for our another media server. It's a different model called ET4000. But for the H series, we can just choose different models. Sorry for the translation. It's not to English. So once we will only enable the screen control, and we only have the screen, which is for the H series, and we can do the freeze or fade to black. Or even we have the basic control for the brightness. And even we have the live for pre-edit mode. Pre-edit mode, which means we can just operate like a small switcher. So like we create another wall over here and just click take, and then we'll put it on screen. Or just a switch between live and pre-edit mode. So this is a pretty simple app, which we can do the layer editing or preset switching and the basic black faded to black phrase for brightness control. This is really simple site called VCCP. It's available for download at Google Play or Apple Store, but it doesn't need authorization. So if you want to use on site or put it on your project, you can just contact our sales manager, or if you don't know who you can contact to, you can contact support at novastar.tech. Okay, that's all for today's training for the H series.